Alright, so welcome back. This is Michael Oskam with ProWestRecording.com, and this is the second installment in the Right Idea, Wrong Tools series that I'm putting together. And as promised from the last one, this one's going to be dealing with snare drum. I'll preface this real quick by saying, sometimes you'll be reading in a magazine article or online or something, and you'll hear engineers use terms like crack or the smack to describe the snare drum. And that adjective, in addition to them ranting about the compressors that they use, leads you to believe that in order to get that crack and attack sound that you need heavy levels of compression. And so let's say you hear a snare drum that has a good bite to it, a good crack, and you feel like you need to compress the heck out of it to get that. Well, I've seen this recently. Another newbie, so to speak, guy starting out, was playing back a mix, and the snare drum had all but disappeared because he had destroyed the transient so much by over compressing it. And he's like, Michael, I'm trying to get this to have that crack, And I said, Bud, you're doing it. You're going about it wrong. So a lot of times when they're talking about the crack and the smack and the attack, heck, there's even a compressor plugin called Smack. Compression plays a part in it, but a lot of it starts with EQ. So I'm going to show you that real quick. I loaded a producer kit here into Logic Pro X. If you've never done that, or let me do that actually. You need a drummer kit or drummer, and you come down to the producer kits in the library, and then any kit that has a plus sign next to it, you'll be able to have multi-track drums. Let's do I don't know, heavy plus. Never use this one, but let's load it up. And when that loads, it's gonna have a track stack, and you can drop it down to see the multi-tracks, and here they are in my mixer window. So let's see what we got. Alright, there's some overtones coming through the kick and all that, but we're looking at the snare. So let me solo safe myself here. Let's take a listen to the snare. And that's the snare top. And so as you can see, they're providing us with some channel EQ and compression. Let's ditch their settings here, and let's load up one of those those compressors you'd pay money for, the 1176, which they say is great for drums, and it is, but it's not going to give you everything you're looking for. So let's compress it heavy. Let's give it 8:1 ratio. Let's hit it. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Let me turn on a cycle here. So that's giving us, what that's doing, we all know by now compressors are leveling amplifiers essentially. So it's going to be crushing or diminishing our peaks and transients so that we can then boost the overall level. And of course then bringing up the lower ghost notes and whatnot. And so we've shrunk the dynamic range so then we can boost the entire level of the track to fit better in with the drum kit. That's what this compressor is doing. So in doing this and hitting it this hard, we're basically just ensuring that each drum hit is the same velocity. And then from there we can turn it up, right? But it gets to a point too where you can't just keep turning things up. So the real crack that we're talking about, or smack, and I don't, these all sound like drug references, is really going to come from an EQ. Now there's quite a few that I like to use. Another great compressor to use in this, if you have the Waves bundle, is the Fairchild. Get great drum sounds from that. I like to use it on my drum sub, but the 670 Puig Child sounds cool, and you can hit this hard too. Smoother. So anyway, we can go with either one of those. But then first let's deal with EQ. Now I'm going to use Logic's built-in EQ just because it has a more visual representation. But really I'd like to be using something more like SSL or whatever. Just because the way that those are built, the electronics, the circuitry, everything adds character. But obviously all EQs do the same thing, and that's shape the tonal frequencies. So if we want to add smack and attack, let's go in and find some. Here we go. Let's make sure those those compressors are bypassed. This is just the snare. Okay, we want to be kind of broad here. That sounds cool. Now the beef of it's going to be down here somewhere. You got to watch out for mud. Okay, and let's give it a little bit of air. And so before and after, this is with, without. That's incredible. Now we've boosted some frequencies that give us a little bit of attack. So now we have that crack. Now we applied the compression. And now listen. Now our snare drum is singing. So that's with, without. Don't just be loading and loading and loading compression on. It's not going to work. Plus, let's think of this real quickly. This is real quickly how this works too, because of the different gain stage levels that it's going to go on. You have your snare. Your snare track's going to have some compression to level out the hits. We've shrunk the dynamic range so that we can then lift the dynamic range to sit better within the drum kit. We're also then going to do the same with the kick, and then we're going to probably do the same with the overheads a little bit. Then once we get those levels all kind of gelling, then what we're going to do is we're going to apply compression to the bus that carries all of the drum kit's instruments to it, and shrink that dynamic range, and then be able to lift or attenuate those to be able to fit better with the instrumentation and for the rest of the mix. So there's tons of gain stages we're going through here. Then there's a parallel compression, which I didn't even set up on this yet, where we're going to send a copy of our drum kit to another channel where we're just going to absolutely be smashing the living daylights out of it, and then blending those two faders. So be careful. You want to get just, with some mild EQ and some, ginger dynamics, get that smack that you're looking for, and then as we begin to process the drum kit as a whole, the real girth will come out. But let's just take, again, listen. That's with, without. And it's night and day. So now let's bring it into context here. That's without the processing. That's with. It sits in the mix finally, and it cracks. Anyway, this is just another one of those things where people are trying to get the right sound. They know what they want it to sound like. They have the right idea, but they're using the wrong tools. I really hope this helps you guys. Please use this in your own mixes. Let me know how it goes. Drop me some comments. And please subscribe. Plenty of videos coming. I think I opened a can of worms on this one with the right idea, wrong tool. The next idea is going to be dealing with people who are using stereo delays on things like vocals or even guitars when really they should be using mono delays, and they're not understanding why they can't have any control, and they're not getting the sounds that they hear on the songs that they hear in the radio. So stick around. Thanks a lot, guys. Have a good day.